It's meant to cosmic peace in war times. This is part 4 of the God AFRU explained in Noone science. AFRU in his boat as before, and in front of it is the beater of Khepera, under whose form the new sun is to be born. Before the boat is the great serpent Akhnatiru, and 12 gods taking hold of the tow line enters the serpent at the tail and drawing the god in his boat through the body of the serpent, bring him out at his mouth. Listen to Jutar's Jupiter Ma'at Amen-Re, the judge of all sound right reasoning. The mouth of the so-called serpent is 6 east of the smack circle. And remember, I told you 9 ether tail stars at 3 south, 6 ether tail stars at 9 north. So as Nupu 9 ether forces push and pull all of existence this way, this would be considered the mouth, okay, which is an exit. 6 west, when all of existence is going downward, this is an entrance to the underworld. This is the exit of the underworld. During his passage through, the serpent AFRU is transformed into Khepera, and the gods are transformed and emerge with him. AFRU defines and describes the life and death. However, if a human being becomes an incarnation of an original spirit god and goddess who has eternal life, it is indeed possible for that spirit god or goddess to maintain the personality and also memories of that person that he and she are incarnate in the flesh and blood of. If this happens, the human being is said to have eternal life because his or her personality and memories will be kept alive until the smack circle of order reaches point 6 east on the horizon of existence. Let it be remembered. Introduction to the Nature Book 2, page 100. Listen to reason. Process and principles of humans and animals becoming gods and goddesses again at point 6 east are the same as the process and principle of gods and goddesses becoming humans and animals at point 6 west, but of course in reverse of the opposite 6 and 9. However, things are somewhat different with the Talcanoid race, whereas the gods and goddesses produce the Talcanoid race, the African race, the Ethiopian race through organic sex. The Talcanoid race cannot produce the gods and goddesses by physical sex. After members of the Talcanoid race die physical death at point 6. From the serpent administered to him all the day, AFRU in the form of Khepera is now towed into the sky by 12 goddesses. Introduction to the Nature smack circle of nature. The 12 goddesses at this point is the top half of the smack circle, which are the body parts of the universe. So you count these as 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The 12 sailor gods are the 12 zodiac body parts of the universes in almighty nature. Altered picture from Nature Book 3. Who lead him to Shu, the god of the atmosphere and sky of this world. Shu receives Khepera and places him in the opening in the semicircular wall from which forms the end of this section, and people on this earth see him in the form of a disc of light. AFRU in this form of a disc of light has no further use of his mummified form, in which he traversed the Tuat, the bottom underworld, and we see it cast aside and lying against the rounded end of the Tuat as the disc appears in the sky. The newly born god of day is acclaimed by gods and goddesses who destroy any and every enemy who appears in the presence of the god and sing hymns to him. It was assumed that the souls who traveled with AFRU throughout the Tuat underwent the same transformation as he did and were reborn on the earth with him. Listen to Jutar Kinu Unu's Nupu Samurai reasoning. The rounded end of Tuat is a place where 6 east starts at. If you look at the smack circle, it is rounded at that part. Alright, see? All this is round. But at this point, this is the round part that the text is talking about. It was assumed that the souls who traveled with AFRU throughout the Tuat, the underworld, underwent the same transformation as he did and were reborn on the earth with him. Listen to sound right reason. The process and principles of humans and animals becoming gods and goddesses again at point 6 east are the same as the process and principle of gods and goddesses becoming humans and animals at point 6 west, but of course in reverse of the opposite 6 and 9. However, things are somewhat different with the Talcano race, whereas the gods and goddesses produce the Talcano race, the African race, the Ethiopian race through organic sex. The Talcano race cannot produce the gods and goddesses by physical sex after members of the Talcano race die physical death at point 6 East. They metamorphs and psychomorph like the other beings into flesh and blood gods and goddesses again, and indeed in the same time and order sequence that prevailed at the beginning of the origination quarter and cycle. One might ask, how is it then that the Talcano race is the only human race who can compass and go all around the perimeter of the smack circular order? The answer is this: before all members of the Talcano race die out at point 6 East, members of the Hydra Pygmy race ancestors and Talcano race are again produced by Mother Goddess Earth by help of the living nine-ether sun. After the point 6 East cataclysm, persons and things start all over again as at the beginning of the mighty universes. Let it be remembered, always let it be known. Listen to reason. Like the human races, all animals who originated at the result of the demise and extinction of the flesh and blood gods and goddesses who returned as animals, indeed will follow the same principles and pattern of extinction and renewal as humans do in the order and time of their origins in the bottom half of the smack circle order. Ending of evolution means that revolution, the reverse of evolution, comes into being. The end of evolution means that the negative aspects of nature becomes less and less powerful, less and less organized, and thereby less and less aggressive, and less able to aggress, while the positive aspects of infinite nature wax and increase in proportions to the negative decreases. Then too, survival, better, safer living becomes more and more possible and more practical at point 3 South, especially after Armageddon. After evolution definitely ends, Mother Earth produces no more new human races, and the ones existing already start revolving back toward the figures and forms of the flesh and blood gods and goddesses, the pygmy gods and goddesses of the top half of the smack circle of order. All original human races were pygmy races at their beginning and evolved to be thinner and taller as a whole. So during evolution, all human races revolve back toward their beginning in form and behavior, but in the positive almighty nature rather than the negative. Let it be remembered always. The womb of Mother God of Earth around 18 million years ago, after the termination of evolution, the circle is the letter O and therefore means order and orderly events in consecutive sequence. The smack circle of nature make it possible for human beings to scientifically research and trace the eternal past, mentally analyze an everlasting present, and foretell the endless future, basically and rational. Let it be remembered, always let it be known. Introduction to the Nature, Book 2, pages 136 to 137. Listen to Utah, Jupiter, Amun-Re, Ma'at, the judge of all sound right reasoning. When the 18 million years of revolutionary quarter ends, the first male and female pygmy gods will come forth from eggshells on the bank of the Nine River 9 years later. Here's the timeline for all 4 cataclysms. Listen to reason. The Caucasian race is shown on the dot next to the last dot counterclockwise on the order circle, shape 31 on page 68, but the writer does put it there for the purpose of orderly sequence because that dot is 2 million years away from the end of evolution, yet the Caucasian race was originated 6,000 years before the end of evolution, whose ending began in the Caucasian Christian year 1962 AD. When a year like 1962 AD is given for the end or ending of a major cycle like the evolution cycle, this does not mean that all affairs and events of the end are supposed to happen in that given year, because we are dealing in thousands, millions of years in actuality and practicality. A given year for the ending means that the events ending, including the great point 3 South cataclysm of the circle, will take place within 60 years from the announced ending year for point 3 South, within 75 years for the point 6 East, within 90 years for point 9 North, and within 75 years for point 6 West. Let it be remembered, always let it be known. Alright, so here we have the 3 South is the last 60 years after the ending of evolution, 18 million. So here's where we at, 3 South at this point. Alright, so this is the little circle. Listen to Jupiter, Amun-Re, Ma'at, the judge of all sound right reasoning. Evolution ended February 5th, 1962, which is a 9-year. 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 2 equals 9. 60 years, give or take a few years to end it, has to be on a 9-year because Nupu is involved. Here's the example. 60 years from 1962 AD is 2022 AD. The same way 1962 had to add up to 9, the same thing goes for after the 60 years following the same trend. 2022 was the end of the 60 years. Year 2022, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6, which was in the 61st year, which we are in at right now. Year 2023 comes out to 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 3 equals 7, right? That's a 7-year, which is 62 years. Year 2024, 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 4 equals 8, which is in the 63rd year. Year 2025, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 equals 9, which is 65 years after the ending of evolution. So it becomes out, as you see, the year 2025 is the 9-year. Alright? Listen to Jupiter, Amun-Re, Ma'at, the judge of all. When revolution ends, which is February 5th, 18 million years, Noone Ethiopian year, time starts over. It takes 75 years, give or take a few years, into 6 East before the fire cataclysm occurs. The same way 3 South had to add up to a 9-year, this goes for 6 East because Nupu is involved. Remember this well. Alright, so here we have the 6 East, and it's 75 years after revolution ends. It takes 75 years, give or take a few years, before the 6 East cataclysm officially takes place. Even though they're in the section of origination, technically it's not 6 or what you say 7 ether zone, because it takes the fire cataclysm to bring and turn 6 ether from revolution into 7 ether. The same way we are at 3 South, technically we are in the revolutionary section, but the gases that comes with the transformation will occur when the 3 South cataclysm comes. All right, I hope that's helping you. All right, so at this point the time will be Noone Ethiopian year 75, right, in the Dorjan section. All right, 7 plus 5 equals 12. 1 plus 2 equals 3. That's the 3-year. Year 76, 7 plus 6 plus equals 13. 1 plus 3 equals 4. That's a 4-year. Year 77, 7 plus 7 equals 14. 1 plus 4 is 5. That's a 5-year. Year 78, 7 plus 8 equals 15. 1 plus 5 equals 6. Year 79, 7 plus 9 equals 16. 1 plus 6 equals 7. Year 80, 8 plus 0 equals 8. That's an 8-year. Year 81, 8 plus 1 equals 9. A 9-year. So we see that it takes a couple of years after the 75 years for the cataclysm come in, which it takes what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 6 years after the year 75 cataclysm, which is scheduled to occur. But again, it's not all the way accurate because you're dealing with everything moving in existence at the same time. So it's not going to be soon as it hit, like it did soon, like it says in the nature books, 2022, give or take a few years. We already in 2022 and no cataclysm occurred because AFRU knew that it takes a couple years for everything to get caught up. So it's the same thing for 6 East, alright? Alright, so here's the 9 North, and it's 90 years after 9 North ends, alright? Which is February 5th. Alright, so we talking about the first 90 years of the Dorjan section. Now we move forward to 9 North, whose cataclysm comes 90 years after origination section closes out. This time it must be 6 year because Zupu is involved. And Nupu's number is 9 and Zupu's prime number is 6. Alright? Now we are at Noone or North Pole Noon, Ethiopian year 90. 9 plus 0 equals 9. Year 91. 9 plus 1 equals 10. Year 92. 9 plus 2 equals 11. Year 93. 9 plus 3 equals 12. 1 plus 2 equals 3. Year 94. 9 plus 4 is 13. 1 plus 3 equals 4. Year 95. 9 plus 5 equals 14. 1 plus 4 equals 5. Year 96. 9 plus 6 equals 15. 1 plus 5 equals 6, which is a 6 year. Alright, and finally we at 6 West, which is 75 years after the origination closes. You have a 75-year, give or take a few years before evolution technically kicks in with the flood. Alright. Finally we come to 6 West, which has 75 years, give or take a few, before the water cataclysm occurs, starting evolution officially. This cataclysm must start on the 6th year, but the same as 6 East. Year 75. Excuse me, it's my bad. It must start as a 6 year because it's Nupu, my bad. 6 East starts on the 9. Alright. So I'm gonna take that out right there. Opposite of 6 East. Alright. So now we in the year 75. 7 plus 5 equals 12. 1 plus 2 equals 3. Year 76. 7 plus 6 equals 13. 1 plus 3 equals 4. 4 years. 77. 7 plus 7 equals 14. 1 plus 4 equals 5. A 5 year. Year 78. 7 plus 8 equals 15. 1 plus 5 equals 6, which is a 6 year. The importance of Ra worship in Lower Egypt under the ancient empire was due entirely to the political influence of the priests, which was used very skillfully. The first king of the 5th dynasty was Usukaf, who was a priest of Ra, and it seems that he succeeded in wresting the supreme power from the successors of the great kings Khufu, Khafra, and Muqarra. And I think these are Khufu's 3 sons, if I'm not mistaken. Alright, so this is roughly 5,000 years ago. Whether this be so or not matters little, but it is almost certain that he was the first king of Egypt who added the title Son of Ra to his other titles, who gave himself an additional name as Son of Ra. The priests of Ra at that early period claimed to have in their bodies the veritable blood of Ra, and they asserted that their high priests were the offspring of Ra by human mothers. When the planet orbits the sun and starts its eternal rotation around the 9 ball, the planet is a burning ball, and that ball burns and burns until the burning goes beneath the surface of the planet as a fire does in a burning coal. When the burning goes beneath the surface and the planet cools from its burning, the sun pushes the Earth's share of water into the Earth's magnetic or gravitational field, and it begins to rain and rain and rain. As this water goes beneath the surface of the planet and reaches the gases and chemicals in the Earth, which are still burning, pressure begins to build up. Eventually, the results are a series of tremendous violent explosions which send part of the Earth into orbit around the planet. Then the sun, by the laws of nature, draws these parts together and grows these parts together by rain, water, and heat. However, those parts of Earth that did not have enough force behind them to go into space and become part of the moon fell back to Earth and formed mountains and other high places. Yet all mountains were not formed this way. Some mountains are the results of heat pressure pushing parts of the Earth upward, but never becoming powerful enough for violent explosions. Of course, after those series of tremendous explosions, great craters and cracks were left in the Earth, and it's easy to see how they will become ocean, river, lakes, and streams, since the rains kept falling till those craters and crevices were filled enough with water. Now the stage was set and ready for other life. All ingredients needed for various types of life was given Mother Earth while she was growing in primeval chaos. And when the earth caught fire and was going through a heat process, the rains came and eggs were formed in the waters of the earth by the nature of nature through action of alpha bombardment, etc., etc., which combined the formulas necessary for life. Vegetation came up first, for it was necessary for food and protection for the flesh and blood beings that followed. Next was the dwarf beings, now called the African pygmies. These dwarf Nubians were born from the source of the Nile River, meaning the Nile River in Africa. The original atmosphere of this planet was very unlike we know it today. At the time, the atmosphere was strong, dense with life, gases, and hot all over the planet, even at the poles. Orb Earth was the first mother of all living beings on this planet, and the sun was the first father of all in the form of life, 9 ether, or the form of death, 6 ether, since there was no flesh and blood mothers to nurse the first flesh and blood beings on the planet. This means they had to become strong enough to take care of themselves. There was neither poisonous vegetation nor animals and fowl of prey. Therefore, our ancestors, the pygmies, had no danger to confront them. Anything they could eat or drink was suitable for food. The dwarf Ethiopians could not die because everything was living. The earth was living, the atmosphere was living, and the water was living. The enemy called death was not there. 9 ball count 4, 34 through 37. Remember, when we say Ethiopians, we're not referring to only woolly-haired people born in the state of Africa known as Ethiopia, but woolly-haired people wherever they are, namely all people in the Ethiopian race. The root of the word Ethiopian is the word ether, and it means our origin is the sun, because the sun is 9, and 9 ether sun produces the Ethiopian race. The Nubians, the blackness that the Caucasian gets by basking in the sun is temporary, for as soon as he or she quits basking, that person starts getting paler. But it's different with the Ethiopian. Our blackness is inherent from the sun that is in our being, the sun's original offspring. He empowered us Ethiopians with the same powers that he has, the power to be black and produce black offspring. In other words, our skin is black because, like the sun, we Ethiopians have in our reproductive system and marrow of our bones what's called sun heat genes, and these sun heat genes become part of the blood and they emanate outward to the skin, and our sun heat genes burn the skin black. The more sun heat genes one has, the blacker that person will be. Therefore, being black is being superior in color, because the suns of the universes are jet black and they are superior to all other universal bodies. Hence, black is not only beautiful but also the best and purest of the colors. The sun is male and Mother Earth is female. The sun gives off ether in the form of what is called prominences. The sun has antenna called granulation, and Ethiopia's woolly hair looks like that granulation. So our woolly hair may correctly be called granulation, using an English expression. If one puts a straight strand of hair closer and closer to a fire, that strand of hair would granulate, that is, ball up, because of the potency of the heat. The Ethiopian carries his and her sun within, and we appeared on planet Earth at a time where no other race could survive in the Earth's atmosphere, because just after creation, the atmosphere was too dense and potent for the weakness of human beings called mankind. Mankind is all people with straight hair by nature. The Ethiopian became identified with mankind down through evolution. Moreover, the sun heat genes in those who had to live in the Earth's original atmosphere had to be much stronger than those of mankind who came much later. In other words, the sun heat genes in the African pygmies were so dense and potent in their bone marrow and reproductive system that they turned the hair kinky as fire does to a straight strand of hair. Hence, the woolly hair is supposed to be straight hair. Hence, woolly hair is superior to straight hair, as the suns are superior to other universal bodies. Woolly hair by nature shows the Ethiopian that he and she are the originals on the planet, thereby the original personification of the suns. We bigger Ethiopians evolved from the smaller Ethiopians now called the African pygmies, who live in equatorial Africa. We iterate, the only people who could survive in the Earth's original dense and hot atmosphere just after the fire of creation were those who had sun heat genes within so strong they could kink the hair, and those people were our ancestors, the African pygmies. Black skin is sun skin and woolly hair is sun hair. The sun is 9 and 9 is the ball, which may conveniently be drawn as a circle in ancient times. The African pygmy was called Ta and worshipped as the personification of the original creator. The pygmies are from the sun and we are from the pygmies, and this means we bigger Ethiopians are the sun too. We have evolutionary Ta. Mother Earth gave birth to our ancestors. The African pygmies from the source of the Nile on the equator in Africa. The eggs of Mother Earth in the source of the Nile River were impregnated by 9 ether rays from Father Sun. The 9 power, like the sun, woolly hair symbolizes potency, life, and originality. The Ethiopian is the only one of the races who grows his or her crown by nature. Woolly hair stands up like a crown, and this makes the Ethiopian the natural king and queen of the universe by nature. This is a brief introduction to 9 Ethiopian, and 9 is your own woolly haired self. 9 ball count 1, numbers 12 through 14. Listen to reason. Like the suns and all other scientifically living beings at point 6 west, the beginning of evolution and death, counterclockwise on the smack circle of order, the flesh and blood gods and goddesses die ethereal scientific death because become subject to suffering and death in all of its forms, including physical death. All original gods and goddesses of flesh and blood were shiny jet black in color and grew generally kinky hair on their heads by nature for 2 main reasons. The sun who fertilized their mother goddess Earth's eggs by ethereal light and a ray of beam has kinky hair called flocculi by mundane scientists and is shiny jet black himself. And 2, when Mother Goddess Gaia Earth was first orbited from the sun billions of years ago, she was in flames but finally cooled off and down enough for other life forms and activities. However, sun genes of 9 ether in her atmosphere were so dense and potent, so strong, that anyone who could survive in it had to have sun genes inside strong enough to offset or balance the sun genes outside. So the sun genes inside the gods and goddesses of flesh and blood were so strong and powerful from the fire called 9 ether and the water contents therein that they call shiny black skin and also kinky hair naturally, and still doing the direct descendants of the original gods and goddesses, who posterity is now called the Ethiopian race, also called the black race and the African race. Let it be remembered always and let it be known. Listen to reason. As sun genes reach the skin surface of an Ethiopian by race, they burn oxygen and turn the skin black or blacker than it already is at birth. Sun genes are hereditary sun factors of nature that are stronger in 9 ether descendants than they are in 6 ether descendants, for they are strong in 9 ether than they are in 6 ether, and these facts account for the shiny black skin and kinky hair possessed by members of the Ethiopian race, likewise known as the kinky hair race of planet Earth, and by extension the universe. Show me the first people on planet Earth or any planet, and I will show you the growth of that planet in their flesh and blood composition and form instead of their fire and ether forms. Let it be remembered always, let it be known. Listen this to the Nature book 1, pages 170 to 172. Listen to Jutah, Jupiter, Ra, Amun, Re, Ma'at, the judge of all sound right reasoning. All black African people on planet Earth come from my Jutah, Jupiter, sister wife, Mother Earth, and my Jutah, Jupiter, husband, Ripu, Ra, Superman, and Noone, the sun. The 3 original mankind races are my Jutah, Jupiter's creation, who are the Phoenician race, the Indian race, and the Mongoloid race. Remember this well. And here is a diagram out of the Nature book 2. And you see that we are at the top, which we were sexually procreated by the 9 pygmy god race that came from the right side. But Jutah in her 6 ether powers put her 6 ether powers into the 6 ether clay eggs that came up on the equator of Indonesia, on that island down there. And from that point, she brought them to life. And that's why she is called the god of the Phoenician race, or who they worship her as El Yon. Alright? She's the god of them. In the Bible, she would be considered Shem, Ham, and Japheth will be the same as saying Phoenicians, Indians, and Mongoloids. Shem, Ham, Japheth. So that right there should make that more clear for you. Introduction to the Nature Book 2, page 70. The belief that Ra came down from heaven and was united to a mortal woman, and that every king in Egypt was the offspring of such a union, persisted throughout the country for about 3,000 years. Hatshepsut decorated the walls of her temple at Del el-Bahar with scenes which illustrate the principal events connected with her conception and birth, and prove conclusively that she believed herself to be of the seed of Amen. A part of the temple of Amenhotep III at Luxor was decorated with a series of reliefs which proved that this king believed himself to be Amen-Ra incarnate, and there is no doubt that every king of Egypt, including even kings of Egypt, Nubian origin, held the same belief. Alright, stay tuned for part 5, True Mental Cosmic Peace and Martial Wartime.